What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO and Weagal back again for another meta discussion. This one probably the wackiest one because some of the patches that went onto the PTR for these characters are just really weird and very different to many others that we've seen before, and we're excited to break them down here today. A lot of them are interesting, but I think the one we're most excited about is Junkrat having a spare mine, which I think really opens up what he's able to do. And I have a lot to say, but Liam is our designated Junkrat player on the team, so I'll let you voice your opinions.
Well, I've always enjoyed playing Junkrat from day one, but he's been kind of useless on a lot of maps, a lot of situations for a really long time. He's buffed when he got it so his mines and stuff wouldn't damage him, made a big difference, and to get some use of him every now and then. This PTR change is come at a weird time because I've seen a few Junkrats run recently in a really good way, and now all of a sudden he's just that bit better. I mean, having that instant burst potential from that mine is, I think, borderline OP. I think that's the easiest way to say it, is that it's very strong. And I don't know if it's too strong, and we'll see that as the meta develops, but there's certain strategies and things that you can do, like you can place a mine down at spawn if you wanted to, and when they walk out, you can blow it up. Everybody knows that. That's a nice, free, cheap kill you've always been able to do. Well, now you could follow that up with another mine. However, one thing that people don't think about, and they're saying that the mine is really OP, is that when you do throw a mine at someone and you detonate it, if they don't die, it's very hard to follow that up instantly sometimes because the initial mine will boop them a really long distance away. But I think for me, actually, the most interesting part about this isn't necessarily the damage, it's the movement that it gives Junkrat. It gives him the opportunity to be in a place that he probably shouldn't be and then get away. Whereas at the minute, in the current live version, if he's out of position, he's gonna die. But now he's going to be able to use multiple mines to get all the way across the map in seconds. It's almost as good as a Winston jump if you get really good at it. So it's putting him in a really interesting place. I don't know if it's as OP as people say it is, but I think it's really fun, if nothing else.
The thing is, guys, with the meta, it has to be a little bit OP to be meta. That's the problem with the way these games are. So there's always going to be something at the top of the meta, and those things are probably a little bit OP. And then everything else is sort of like either niche or usable, but not overpowered enough. So if we want to see Junkrat in a better place where he is usable and dominant at anything, he has to be a little bit OP in order for that to be the case. And we might argue that he was healthy at the moment that he's at on live, whereas on PTR, he starts to look scary. It's sort of like Hanzo in the way where Junkrat, being mastered at least, is very difficult, so having something that's a bit cheese in his back pocket, I think, is permissible. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is that Junkrat already was really good at lower levels of play, and this makes him even more dominant in that regard. The spam city, baby, it's coming for you. I personally just like the ability to have sick movement and make really crazy plays. That's what I'm excited about, but it also can turn it into kind of a more spammy game. Speaking of spam, though, maybe the Arisa change is what we should move on to. Arisa got a massive buff that I don't see anybody freaking out about as much as you should be, because her shield functionally is as big as a Rhine shield now, to the point where I'm going to go ahead and say I think it's overpowered and it's way too good. And now her weapon is consistent enough to be able to, I think, like, track a Pharah in the sky because it shoots faster. If you didn't know already, Arisa's damage was insane. It just was the fact that it was so hard to consistently hit those shots because they had such a big lead on them, such a slow projectile move speed. But now it's to the point where you can reliably aim it quite well, to the point where Arisa is a scary damage character. I'm almost afraid that Triple Tank might come back with how great Arisa just got buffed. Honestly, I think this is a little bit too far because Arisa, kind of like Junkrat, was in a healthy spot. They both could be run. They're kind of niche in their own way, but not breaking the game. I'm a little bit afraid of this one.
I agree entirely. The shield thing is kind of okay, and I think it's cool that they're trying to make these heroes meta. The only thing is, I don't want to go back to Triple Tank. And again, this is also another buff to a hero that is a pain for lower level people to deal with. I know that Arisa is a massive problem on live for people at lower ranks. Maybe not all of them, but I've definitely seen very consistent reports on her use on certain choke points because she gets that shield so often. Well, now, guys, that shield has like nearly double the area or something. It is massive. It also goes downwards, so if it's on a payload, it's harder to shoot under it. There's all these different changes to that shield, and it just makes a big difference to her. at a higher level where she currently isn't very good, but at a lower level, she is. So she's going to be way better. She's going to be way harder to get past, and she gets that barrier very often. I think it has, what, 1,000 HP or 900 or something? It comes back so much quicker than Reinhardt's does, and she can also be doing other things while the shield is up. Reinhardt can't do that. He has his shield up, it takes a long time to regen, and he doesn't do anything else when his shield's up. Arisa can still shoot, she can fortify, she can use her little mini graviton right click thing. She's still really usable, and then she gets another shield without even thinking about it. It's just the press of a button away. So again, the same with the Junkrat. I think it's really cool that they're trying to make these heroes better, but I think I'm more concerned about Arisa than Junkrat, and I think more people should be concerned about it too, because that shield is huge and it comes back all the time.
To try to devil's advocacy the position a bit, one benefit to it being balanced that the shield's bigger is that it's easier to hit, which you might say, well, yeah, of course, it's blocking more space, but it can more easily be focused, maybe. I don't think the size of it being easier to hit will make that change to the point where it's getting cracked and there's a window of punishability for Arisa, but that possibly could be the case. I think, honestly, it was already good enough that she got her shield almost all the time with the cooldown change in the recent patch, or a patch or two ago. And the change to her weapon is what I like the best. That means you put more power into the Orisa's hand rather than putting it into the power of the barrier, which I guarantee you don't want to play in a meta where a barrier meta, right? Which is what many people thought we might get when Arisa came live. Well, you keep buffing this barrier, that is what we're going to get. And if you didn't like the dive meta, I'm sure you'll dislike even more the meta where damage is getting blocked everywhere. It'll be the complete opposite of the dive meta.
So we've been talking about low-level kind of buffs, and I think the one I want to move on to now is Widowmaker, simply because a lot of people have said it doesn't make a huge difference, and I think, or I'm pretty sure, should I say, that it is a high-level buff. It's a buff that's going to make really good Widowmakers a lot better in some situations. The hook being 4 seconds less makes her get around a lot more. People are already great at hook shotting and getting away and keeping that hook for the right situation, so having it so much more often is going to make a huge difference over the game. And the Widowmaker mine being put down and then tagging people on the map, which good Widowmakers can then follow up on, is going to make all the difference to them higher level Widowmakers. However, if you're lower level or maybe you don't quite hit so many shots, having them tagged on the screen is going to help for sure, but it's not quite the same, I think, as some of the people that are already amazing with her. I feel like it's a big buff to the amazing Widows out there, and it's a nice little change for people that suck with her like me, but I don't think it's enough where I would now be able to pick her. But I think she's good enough anyway, because she has the potential to just one-shot things. And the scariest thing in any competitive game is someone that can one-shot things, and she can consistently one-shot like 70% of the heroes in the game if you have that skill to leverage it. So this is the buff everyone asked for, and I don't think it needs to go any further than this personally. I think it's a really good change and will make a big difference to some people and maybe not people that suck like me.
Interesting interactions that the Venom Mine has, I think. Putting it down as like a detection tool on a flank route or something. If an enemy, Sombra, Genji, Tracer is trying to flank around, well, you'll be able to see them coming and it'll line up that shot. That change is actually quite significant, even more than the grapple, I think. Moving on to the last and maybe the craziest change, you can use Take a Breather while moving and damage reduction all the way up to 50%, which is an insane number, and makes him a very interesting character now that he can essentially face tank into situations. You can be popping Take a Breather constantly to pass over sight lines, to close the distance on an enemy, but there's a bit of an issue with this because a lot of tanks already have ways to stay alive, and this only really gets Roadhog up to par with them. Roadhog's kind of an interesting character and kind of tricky right now, and like we said, it's got to be OP to be really good, right? And this change is kind of just marginal, really. It's more annoying than viable, and it isn't really where I want to see Roadhog to go. I still am waiting for that 6-second hook cooldown, because I think that's the major difference. To compare, Winston got a buff to his barrier cooldown time, which means he basically gets it every 8 seconds, because he pops it down, it has a duration of a few seconds, he jumps away, and then it goes on cooldown. That Winston bubble buff, I think, we didn't need, actually, at the time. A lot of players thought Winston was really bad. I thought he was sick. That is part of the problem with Roadhog, is that his hook cooldown just doesn't really keep up to the pace of the game up against any of the characters that exist. Zarya, Winston, D.Va's defense matrix. There's just so many things that are going to be able to block what he's able to do that the pace of him just isn't quite right, even with this buff, I think. Though, this does make him more playable, and at least perhaps will fit into a niche spot, because I still think there's spaces in the game, specific maps, go down a lane or something where you can get a really reliable hook that can give you a big advantage. Those spaces, I think Roadhog is undervalued in heavily right now, because so many players just assumed that he was worthless after the nerf, that faith in the Roadhog is so low that it's difficult to even test him anymore. But we're incrementally getting close to a place where we all can have faith in the Roadhog again.
I think something that's probably going to happen is we will end up doing our own individual video on Roadhog, because there's a little bit more testing that I want to do. I went into private match, I tested like when you use his take a breather, could you survive D.Va ult, which you can, but your teammates behind you cannot. So it doesn't help you in the teammate part there at all. The only things that can really kill Roadhog when he's actually doing this is like a nano boosted Bastion, maybe a Pharah ult on occasion. Most things can't kill Roadhog when he's using Take a Breather now, but that doesn't necessarily make him OP, it just makes him survive longer. He's more of a better ult battery for the other team, as some people are saying. One thing I would like to dispute though, and this will go definitely more in depth at some point, is that his one-shot combo that he's always had isn't as bad as people say it is. Especially if someone's already just taken that tiny bit of damage, you get a hook, you shoot someone, they're gonna die most of the time. If you walk off and flank and try and get a hook and they haven't been hit and you can't kill them, you are an ult battery, you are going to die. But I have seen Roadhogs dominate a Grandmaster's level of play in a few games. Some really good Roadhog players against the right team comps, hooking in the right things to the team, not going on a flank, have been getting some big value. So when this change comes through and he can get some value and then stay alive that little bit longer, take out some big damage, his ultimate is still a good ability too, I think that he will have a niche spot. I just don't know if he's ever going to have that one-shot potential that he used to. We've already made the argument versus Doomfist. Doomfist can kind of one-shot, but it is a bit of a sound cue thing people need to get used to. Roadhog's hook never had a sound cue. He's got 600 HP, he could heal himself. Doomfist can't do that. Doomfist dedicates to it, so that's why there's a difference in the one-shots, and that's why Blizzard have gone that way. Never necessarily cared that Roadhog could one-shot, but at the same time, he was allowed to just go and flank and carry on his own, and I'm not sure that's okay for a tank with 600 health. So this change is going to make him better. I don't know if it's in the place where I want him or where you guys might want him. You can let us know in the comments where you want to see Roadhog. I'd like to see him usable. I want to see all the heroes usable. I really do. But that one-shot tank, probably not going to happen again, I don't think. And it is already not as bad as people say it is. Although, granted, it's inconsistent. There's a lot of misconceptions in the game, and Roadhog being an ult battery is definitely one of them. It's just about your positioning. Don't take damage. Hide from damage until your team initiate. Stuff like that. I mean, how many D.Vas do you see that are out of their mech? Good D.Vas are nearly never out of their mech. Only at the end of a team fight are good D.Vas ever out of their mech. They use defense matrix when they need to, or else they're just an ult battery themselves. All the tanks are ult batteries. If you're standing at the choke with no Lucio and Arisa's shield and all the damage is coming in and it's shooting your tanks, that's what's going to happen. I think that's another misconception about Roadhog. I want to see him good, I want to see him better, but when he's definitely not as bad as everyone thinks it is, I don't want it to go the other way where he gets a really decent buff and then all of a sudden he's just amazing again, because when he was amazing, everyone wanted him nerfed. And then when he got nerfed, everyone's like, yo, Jeff, you nerfed my bro. But that's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. I think he's good, and I think this change is going to make a big difference. Just not in the way of getting him right back into the meta as the one-shot kill machine. I just don't think he's going to be that guy anymore.
Lowered the hook cooldown, like I said, or maybe we go the Junkrat route. Maybe we give him a hook on Retainer, so he has 2 hooks. So you missed that one on close range, well, he's got another hook for you, and then if you can't hit it then you think you deserve to die. I don't know how far they should go with it, but the game is better off for Roadhog to not be this dominant damage dealer with one of the easier ways to do so. Well, that's it for today's meta discussion. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like. Let us know in the comment section down below what changes you're afraid of or you're excited for. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we do upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description, you can check out our Twitter and our Discord server where you can interact with our community and find the Arisa main of your dreams. That's been it for Weagle and FREEDO for Your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.